Sadako Yamamura, Samara Morgan, the girl from the ring, whatever you want to call her, I don't think it's any stretch to say that most people who recognized her in Dead by Daylight never actually watched the source movie she's from. And I'm not talking about the American remake, I'm talking about the original movie. No, I didn't see it before playing DVD either, but I did watch it for the sake of this video. Luckily, it went better than my other watch of Japanese media for the sake of a video, though. I'll tell that story, just not today. Anyway, Sadako. So you want to learn how to play the Onryo. Maybe you're a die-hard fan of the Ring series, or maybe you bought her by accident and are determined to get your money's worth. Whatever the reason, this video should teach you the basics of Sadako, and hopefully jumpstart your way to Prestige 100. So who exactly is Sadako? Well, to sum up 14 movies and 6 novels, Sadako Yamamura is a girl with psychic abilities whose mother also had psychic powers. When a journalist doubted her mother's powers, Sadako got so incredibly angry that the guy had a heart attack right there and died. Then her mom flung herself into a volcano, and Sadako was tricked into playing the classic game of, let's all stare into the well and not look behind us to see if the people I don't know who told me I should come here and stare into this well are doing anything suspicious, before getting pushed in. Sadako tried to get out, clawing at the wall so hard that her fingernails tore off, but the entrance had been covered, and she couldn't, no matter how hard she tried. Then a cabin was built over her well, and she channeled all that rage into a single videotape, which allowed her to kill anyone who watched it within 7 days. Now, obviously, a week-long timer and then instant death doesn't work too well for a competitive multiplayer game, so the ability had to be tweaked a bit. Luckily, Sadako's power is not actually all that complicated, so long as you're the one playing as her. She has 2 states, manifested and demanifested. You will always start the trial demanifested, and in this state you are undetectable and glitch in and out of reality in short waves of invisibility while within 24 meters of survivors. If you're further away than 24 meters, you're fully invisible as long as you're demanifested. You might say this sounds similar to the Spirit, and to that I say, who the fuck do you think she was based on, the Pillsbury Doughboy? Well, demanifested, you cannot attack, but can do most other interactions, searching lockers, breaking gens and pallets, snuffing boons, and rekindling Pentimento, rest in peace. It takes a short while to manifest or demanifest, as well as slowing you down while doing so, like Wraith if he didn't have the speed buff, or the ability to body block, since survivors just walk through you while demanifested. Once you manifest, you keep the undetectable status effect for 1 second, and the invis for 4. Well manifested, you turn into a basic 115% speed M1 killer with a small terror radius. The main part of her power is the TVs, which turn on 30 seconds after the match starts. Well demanifested, you can teleport instantly to any powered TV, playing a short animation before giving you the absolutely ludicrous speed boost of 6.9 meters a second, or about 172% speed for 2 seconds. Once you project to a TV, that TV turns off for 45 seconds, meaning you can't teleport to it anymore, and it can no longer be used for condemnation. Oh yeah, condemnation. Remember when I said Sadako's power was simple? Yeah, well, I lied. I'd apologize if I didn't do this intentionally so the script would flow better. Whenever a survivor is near a powered TV while you project, they gain a stack of Condemn. If any survivor reaches 7 stacks of Condemn, you can kill them instantly by your own hand, in a Mori rivaling Vecna's in speed. Oh, and hook states don't matter, that's probably important to mention. Obviously, this is extremely powerful, so to combat it, survivors can record you on VCR and put you on a tape. Then the survivor will get a mark like they just got a call from a random Frenchman telling them to hunt for ancient weaponry, needing to take that tape to a specific TV. This doesn't mean they can't go on a little kill streak of their own, though, since survivors can also interact with any TV to turn it off for 70 seconds while they're holding a tape. This does give them a stack of Condemned for each TV, except for the fact that it doesn't fucking matter since putting the tape in the targeted TV will instantly reduce the survivor's condemnation by 3 stacks. You'd think this makes it almost impossible to gain Condemn, but luckily there is a way to keep it higher. Whenever you hook a survivor with Condemn stacks, it will lock in some of those stacks, as well as destroying any tape that they might be holding. The Condemn stacks can no longer be lowered by any means, permanently making it easier to condemn that survivor. The first hook state locks in up to 3 stacks, and the second locks in up to 6. Despite that, I haven't found Condemn kills nearly as easy to get as a lot of people act like they are. Now, I'd like to tell you a story. An inventor sits imprisoned in his tower. He and his son want nothing more than to escape and be free. So he creates wings for both of them, formed of wax and bird feathers. He warns his son not to be careless, to not fly too close to the sun lest his wings melt and he fall. The boy doesn't listen. The freedom is incredible, and he flies too close to the sun, crashing and burning as a result. I'm sure you all know this story. The myth of Daedalus and his son, Icarus, has become very common as a cautionary tale, not to take risks too high, to keep yourself from making choices that could bite you in the ass later, to stay where it's safe. But there's another part not many remember. When Daedalus tells his son to be careful, he warns not only of the sun, but of the ocean spray. Should Icarus fly too close to the sea, his wings would soak with water, and he would fall and sink all the same. It warns not only of overextending oneself, but also of playing it too safe, of not taking any risks. To stagnate is to die, after all. And I can't help but see Sadako as an example of the latter. A killer much too weak to be commonly viable, and yet the devs are too afraid of the risk a substantial buff would pose. And I think they should take that risk. Give her the buff that might be received poorly. Taking risks is a part of life after all, and the Ghost Girl is practically dead in the DBD scene. So make that overpowered rework. The perk you have to nerf within a month. Give us something you worried we'd attack you for, because we need that variety, or this game that I love so much will devolve into endless monotonous repetition. And yet, I know that nobody of consequence will see this. I'm just a Canadian on the internet. My words will fall on deaf ears. And so I turn to you, dear viewer, the average player. I ask that you be the change. That you try something new. That you run that weird build that doesn't make any sense. Try that stealth nemesis build. The huge terror radius wraith. The hex thrill of the hunt pinhead. If all we can do in this life is control our own actions, then let's use that choice to try something new. About Sadako's perks, honestly, I think they're kinda meh. Most of them have their place in niche builds, one had its time in the meta, but otherwise they certainly raise their hands for attendance, but not much else. Merciless Storm activates each time a generator reaches 90% completion, spamming skill checks at the survivor. They're not exceptionally hard, but they do catch you off guard. If a survivor fails a check or gets off the gen, it is then blocked for 20 seconds. You might notice that this is basically useless in most builds. Sure, it's blocked for 20 seconds, but you have to mentally time that just to kick the gen because it doesn't stop the fact it's 90% finished. I can really only see this being useful in impossible skill check doctor builds, and even then there's probably better perks. Scourge Hook Floods of Rage activates whenever you hook a survivor on a Scourge Hook. What's a Scourge Hook? Well, I'm glad you asked, dear straw man that I made specifically for this argument. A Scourge Hook is a special hook with specific effects. At the start of the game, 4 random hooks become Scourge Hooks, which are highlighted in white. This number cannot be changed, no matter how many perks you bring, with the exception of Monstrous Shrine. And yes, this is the only time that perk has actually been useful. Depending on the perks you bring, a Scourge Hook could do anything from accelerating sacrifice progress to mangling a survivor and then inflicting them with a repair penalty when healed until they're injured again. Floods of Rage, however, will reveal the aura of all survivors once someone is unhooked from the Scourge Hook, with the exception of the person who got unhooked.
Okay, so I'm just editing this video right now, and I have discovered something that I feel a need to mention that I didn't cover in my original script. If you combine Floods of Rage with Jagged Compass from Houndmaster, it is really fucking strong, because it works on every unhook, not just Scourge Hook unhooks, since Jagged Compass turns it into a Scourge Hook and everything, but the effect only applies after the hook is finished. It treats it like you were unhooked from something that was originally a Scourge Hook. So anytime any survivor is unhooked, you get aura reading on everyone else. So, yeah.
I can kind of see this as a good perk to run on Artist, or Huntress if you can do orbitals. You shouldn't use it on Nurse though. Not because it's bad, actually it's a very good perk for her. It's because you shouldn't be fucking playing her in the first place. Sadako's last perk is Call of Brine, which activates whenever you kick a gen, highlighting its aura in yellow. For 60 seconds, it regresses at 125% speed, and any survivor who lands a good skill check will make a loud noise notification. There's also no cooldown, meaning that if you have insane gen pressure, you can almost permanently make gens regress 25% faster. I like it, but you know, perks the killer comes with are really only valuable for those who want to know if she's worth buying. If you're here for the guide part of this Dead by Daylight killer guide, then let me tell you some recommended perks. Dark Arrogance will increase your vault speed by 25%, but also increase the time you're blinded and stunned by 25%. Why is this good? Well, because you don't really get stunned as Sadako. Why do you not get stunned? You know, for a hypothetical person made of dry grass to prove a point, you're oddly talkative. The reason that this is good on Sadako is because you can just parry pallets. Whenever Sadako is demanifested, any pallets dropped on her will just move her back rather than stun. Using this in chase will mean you don't have to give pallets the respect they beg for, like a Victorian coal miner. It also pairs well with Superior Anatomy, which increases your vaulting speed by 40% after a survivor near you fast vaults. Hell, you could go all out and throw Bamboozle on there too and gain temporary one for all from Hux. I'm not sure why you would do that, since Chase is Sadako's greatest weakness, but you can! Knockout is probably also useful. This once again takes advantage of your perfect pallet parry, because it relies on those planks of wood too. Knockout activates whenever a survivor drops a pallet. For the next 6 seconds, if they move more than 6 meters away from the pallet, they gain 5% hindered for 5 seconds. This effect is probably useful. I wouldn't know, because despite bringing it into several games, I didn't seem to get any value out of it even once. If you can get use out of it, great. I'm happy for you. But I also hold the greatest level of contempt for you because it refused to work for me. Darkness Revealed activates whenever you open a locker. Any survivor within 8 meters of a locker will have their aura shown to you for 8 seconds before going on cooldown for 30. Sodico has no real reason to open lockers, but what she does have is TVs. And TVs tend to spawn near lockers, so checking lockers can help you find out if a survivor is near a TV, and if you're fast enough, cut them off and stop them from getting their condemned down. It's not the strongest, but it is fun, and I always go for unique builds rather than strong ones. I also think Forever Entwined is fun. This perk gives you 1 token each time you hit a basic attack, up to a maximum of 8. Each token gives you a 4% speed increase to picking up and hooking survivors, with a maximum cap of 32% speed increase. Before you run trying to stack this with Fire Up, there's a cap to the maximum speed you can get no matter how many perks you run, which is 42%. Why do they do this? Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that. You know, when this perk first came out, I was kinda underwhelmed. I didn't really see a point to it, because who cares about extra pickup speed? But then I brought it on a whim, and when a survivor tried to CJ me, I had already turned my back to them before they got the flashlight out. That's when I realized I would be using this as a crutch for the foreseeable future. And this is especially useful on Sadako, since you are very weak in chase, and dropping a survivor to a CJ or flashbang will waste an absurd amount of time. This is Reikos' watch. It increases the time you are invisible while phasing by 25%. At least, that's what it's supposed to do. Let me break it down for you. At base, Sadako goes invisible for 1.2 seconds, and with the Reikos' watch add-on, it gets buffed to 1.5 seconds. Oh, wait, sorry, that's how much it's supposed to go for. In actuality, she's invisible for 0.95 seconds, and with the add-on, 1.2 seconds. That's right, to get the amount of invisibility you are supposed to have at base, you have to bring an add-on. And yeah, it's 0.25 seconds. I'm complaining about 0.25 seconds, but that's 25% of the time we're missing out on. It matters. Whew, that sure was a doozy. Let's move on to something less infuriating, like her add-ons. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, so Sadako's add-ons almost unilaterally fucking suck. There's like 5 decent ones, and most of the others are underwhelming as hell. And since I already tore into Reikos' watch, we can now move straight to the green... Wait, what the fuck?
Yo, I'm really sorry, okay?
What is wrong with you? Why are you blue?
Ugh, jeez. Long story, let's just say...
On a positive note for once, Bloody Fingernails increases the duration of your speed boost after projecting by 50%, so about 1 second extra. This never leaves my build. It's one of the best effects from her power entirely, and seriously, if you don't have it in your build, you are basically playing on challenge mode. 6.9 meters a second is absolutely ludicrous speed, so fast that you rarely have to respect a pallet because by the time the survivor realizes you're there, you've already hit them. Some of you may be saying that with something this good, there's no way the add-ons are as bad as I'm acting like they are. And you have to know that this is the peak. Sure, we pushed our boulder to the top of the hill, but we share a similar fate to the fabled Sisyphus, and it will roll back down. Mother's Comb reveals the aura of all unpowered TVs in yellow, as well as triggering a loud noise notification when a TV is turned off. Its main use is for learning Sadako, to familiarize yourself with TV spawns. The loud noise notification is helpful for cluing in to when somebody takes a tape, where your disabled TVs are, and where that survivor is probably going because the TV they have to put it in is usually the farthest from the one they took it out of. It also tells you if that shiny coin game is worth playing, because if more than one gen is without a TV, I'll just DC. I'd rather watch the Alessi episode than play that shitfest. Ring drawing inflicts all survivors with an additional stack of condemn whenever you hook someone with a tape, except that survivor. This is alright, providing more condemn pressure on survivors, but you have to hook a taped survivor, and most of the time a taped survivor will sacrifice a hook state just to put that tape in that TV. It's rare that you get your fingernail deficiency afflicted hands on a taped survivor, so I don't use this very often. The telephone is so bad that I'm not even going to explain it. Just don't bring it. There, that's your explanation. The VCR makes it so that every TV plays the projection effect when you project. It's cool, and can scare survivors off of gens that they don't need to be afraid of, but they'll start to see through it eventually and plan for it. It's not bad, but not good either, it's just kinda there. The tape deck is pretty good, though. Every survivor starts with a tape, meaning they can't turn off your TVs, and every time a survivor inserts a tape, their aura is revealed for 6 seconds. The aura reading is really only useful for knowing which TV got turned off without Mother's Comb, but the tapes are pretty strong. And then we get into the reds. The iridescent videotape stops projection from turning off your TVs, but you can no longer gain condemn by teleporting. This is bad on both levels, because turning a TV off with teleportation is one of the few ways you can take control of your TVs, since the cooldown is shorter, and obviously getting rid of condemn is the stupidest idea since bringing back Dead Hard. I have no good thing to say about this add-on. At least the other red one is cool. The TV remote reveals the aura of all survivors within 12 meters of a powered TV when you teleport for 7 seconds. This means you can get wall hacks on a survivor to gain an edge in chase, and also get an idea of where other survivors are before teleporting to them and cutting them off. I like it, but it's not as good as bloody fingernails. You know, Sadako was the first character I ever P6'd, and the first killer I ever got bloody clothes for. I say first killer because the first character I ever got bloody clothes for was Ellen Ripley, but I can talk about her in the Xeno video. Point is, I play Sadako a lot, so I've got a handful of useful tips you can use in your gameplay. Don't use your TVs to condemn spam. Seriously, I know the Minimori is satisfying, but you're wasting your most valuable resource. The TVs have 3 main uses: tactical condemnation, fast travel, and taking control of TVs. Tactical condemnation is different from TV spam, as it requires you to plan things out instead. That's a bit complicated, so I'll walk you through an example here if I remember to record an example. Alright, so Sable just got unhooked. I had her downed at the very start, and so she has no condemn stacks, so it's time to start teleporting. I notice she's on main gen, so I teleport to other TVs before going in and chasing her. I end up chasing Aurella instead, which is fine. She gets down very quick, and I lock in her condemn at 3 stacks. Teleport a few more times, since I know Sable is very high. She's probably on main gen again, and I was right. She's max condemned. I lose her in chase, but she didn't use a tape at any point yet, so she probably isn't going to now, and I noticed somebody on main gen with Darkness Revealed, so I TP over and I grab Tori. Lock her in, though only with 1 stack. Teleport away and find Sable taking a tape, cut her off with fingernails and eye her. Fast travel is important too, but for a few reasons. Obviously, it's useful to be able to instantly warp to a TV and check an exit gate or a high-value gen, but I get the most use out of them in chase. You can corral survivors towards certain tiles with a TV, teleport there, and cut them off to deal damage. This works especially well with a 1-2 combo, hitting a survivor in a normal chase, TPing to a TV they're heading towards, and downing them with a speed boost from bloody fingernails, which you are running, right? Go on, slot them in. Feel the power course through your veins. And taking control of TVs is what it sounds like, making sure the TVs are used on your terms. Survivors turning off TVs deactivate it for 70 seconds, but teleporting to them turns them off for only 45. If you can keep track of what TV gets turned off and by what means, you can make sure that you have TVs more often. You should also be using Manifest and Demanifest often in chase. If you're demanifested just in time to not get pallet stunned, it does genuinely feel like a parry. I wasn't just joking before. Plus, demanifesting often can get you the invis bonus, which can mess up survivors. Oh, and you know the survivors who will try and get between you and an injured survivor so you can't down them? The ones that are popping up a lot more with the new survivor perk that just came out? Neat little fact, demanifested Sadako doesn't have collation. You can just phase through them and down the target instead. And it is so intensely fun to watch a bully squad fall apart because they don't realize this. Your duty of care Metal of Man build is useless against me. Now cry to your Swift in Discord. Your tears fuel me. The hardest tip to implement, but also the one that's helped me a lot, is to track how much condemned survivors have. This is overwhelming as hell when you start, so I recommend only tracking 1 survivor. Then move on to 2, etc, until you can keep track of exactly how much condemn everyone has. That way you can know when to hook and when to slug with the lock-in condemn feature. Unfortunately, most of this tip's value comes from experience, so if you're interested, it's time you roll up your sleeves and lock in. And lastly, just check out some Sodico Players on YouTube. There are players much better than me, with better advice and experience, who, if you're serious about Sadako, I really recommend watching. Straz and JC Glitchmaster are both really good, so you should check them out when you get the chance. I'll link their channels in the description. You should also check out Roby. He's not much of a Sadako player, but he's really funny, and I would not be making these videos if it were not for him. Unfortunately, I make it a point that I always cover the counters to the killers. I'm sorry, Sadako. Honestly, the greatest counter is just use the TVs. Not just to lower your condemn, but to disable the TVs so that she can't easily access parts of the map. When a survivor turns off a TV, it lasts much longer than teleporting to it, though I've explained this twice already, so unless you're using my video as a sleep aid, you should know this. Grab a tape and get on a gen, because there is no punishment for having a tape unless they have ring drawing. Taking away her control of the TVs is the strongest way to force her into a corner, but you can also try and engage her in a chase. Sadako is not built for chase in any way, shape, or form, and staying in chase for too long is her wasting time. If you do get caught in chase near the TV you have to insert the tape in, try and get out of her sight just long enough to get the tape in. You'll probably lose the chase, but she's lost valuable stacks of condemn. Trust me, it's frustrating. In conclusion, Sadako is honestly tough to get good at, and even when you're good, she's tough to use. I respect Sadako mains a lot, because you really are in the trenches trying to win a war with broken guns, and sometimes the only ammo you have is broken bullets, but you stick with her. That takes dedication, and I respect it. If you've watched this far into the video, my only ask is that you give her a try. Play a few games on Sadako, and see if you like her. Who knows, maybe if enough people try Sadako, we can get her bugs fixed and possibly even a buff, just like what happened when Matthew Cote played the Hag. Like and subscribe. Or don't. I'm not your mom.